Welcome to the Tony Talk Show. Here we are, Thursday morning at 10 a.m., baby, in Houston, Texas, down in Midtown. And you guys know I love Midtown. Midtown is where we get down. I love it, man. It's a place where you get to hang out, have good drinks, cocktails, and hang out with your friends and hear jazz music and spoken word. There's a lot of culture down here.
Absolutely.
I know you love that, Cheyenne, since you are a artist,
yes,
if you will. I know you like culture, and we've been in a couple great museums and a couple great galleries across the country, which is wonderful. Guys, listen, it's a double joy for me today, a double treat. I got my best friend Richard Flom right here with me, and Richard's we're just gonna chop it up today, and we're gonna talk about. You guys already know what this show is about. It is about human optimization. What is that, Cheyenne? What is human optimization? Just for the people that may just joined us and haven't been following us, what is human optimization all about? What does that mean? I know it's a new term. A lot of folks don't know what it means.
Yes. So optimization is, again, becoming the best version of yourself. And of course, on this show, we focus on the three main parts of our being. So spirit, mind, and body.
Yes.
In that order, not in the traditional body, mind, spirit order.
That's kind of backwards, isn't it?
Yes.
We've learned that's kind of backwards.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we put spirit first, mind second, and then body last.
Yes.
But again, becoming the best version of yourself. So our goal is to bring on guests and have conversation that encourages and inspires overcoming things, becoming the best that you possibly can.
Absolutely.
And Richard, I believe,
is the epitome of that.
Of all three aspects.
Richard, how long have we known each other, bro? It's what going on 3 years now? 3 years now? Yeah. And you guys, you already know, guys, most of the people I bring on this show, I've met them in the gym.
Yep.
I met Richard in the gym.
Yes.
It was an amazing, amazing thing. And you know what? It was a metaphysical meeting first. I was told a couple times by my spirit to introduce myself to this man, and I had just took on a new job down at the Met as the athletic director, and so I was, of course, inundated with all the new responsibilities, and just kind of blew it off. Didn't introduce myself. The third time, I said, "Okay, I'm going to do it," and I introduced myself to Richard, and it has been a glorious journey from day one. I've learned a lot from this man. He is. And he's very, very humble, and you're going to notice that when we start talking. But Richard is my mentor. He is one of my mentors, and he is a guy I look up to. He's a guy that I aspire to become in so many different ways. And as we have this open discussion today, you're going to find out, you're going to fall in love with Richard Flom as well.
So I know, you have an amazing, amazing story.
Yeah, man.
But I think what resonates with me, and I think what's going to resonate with everyone else that's listening and watching, is just your mindset. To me, that your mental strength and your zest for life, I believe, is something that we could all use a little more of. And so I'd love for you to just tell us briefly a little bit about yourself. I know that's you've done so much in your life. But just briefly about yourself.
We could bring him on probably 100 more times. Yes. And still not get the whole story. Hey man, listen. You're on Edge Radio, man. Guess what? This is where the truth matters. Yes. We're here to inspire. We're here to educate, motivate, and empower our listeners and also our viewers to optimize their lives and optimize themselves as human beings. And again, you are a great example of that. Tell us a little bit about maybe your childhood and how it led you to become the man that you are today, and some of the challenges that you've been through that you had to use a different mindset to overcome.
Childhood wasn't overly exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I was.
Where'd you grow up at?
I was born in New York. And when I was about 6, my parents kidnapped me in violation of the Mann Act, transported me across state lines, and took me down to South Florida. And then I spent all the way into my early 30s in South Florida.
Really?
Yeah.
So you moved to South Florida. How old were you?
I was 6.
6 years old, and stayed there until you were 30.
1951 is when I arrived.
Wow.
And I left Florida in 1979.
Did you like Florida?
79. Yeah, I mean, growing up, it was great. I mean, it was a little rough when I started.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like a New York Jewish kid,
Yeah.
and I moved into South Florida, which was not like it is today.
Right.
It was
a little different, right?
a lot of farms and so
Yeah.
forth. So, and I was a little on the chunky side, and I wasn't really well accepted in school.
So it sounds to me like
And,
you got a little bit of bullying going on. I know I did. I had a little of that in my
and,
childhood.
And then I figured that I would either hide in my bedroom or I would learn how to overcome the bullies.
Oh.
So
So
what was
crazy.
your
I got to
decision?
that point in my life too. Enough was enough. You know, I said, okay, how am I going to deal with this?
Yeah,
I'm not going to be a victim any longer.
You got a little more size than
No, I
do.
did not.
So,
I mean,
so I had to be creative.
Man, listen, I'm telling you, when I was when I was being bullied, man, I mean, I weighed like 165 pounds. I wasn't 260. So it was a totally different situation, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's still, again, it's the weak preying on the strong, but trying to make the strong feel weak, so to speak. That's what I have found. So
Yeah.
it's so crazy because I used to get bullied and then I became the bullier. So I've been on both sides a little bit. Okay, keep telling me what else happened.
Well, what you learn how to be when you're my size,
Yeah.
because I'm not even as tall as you are, is you become a great salesman. And so, you know, you use your fist to start with,
Yeah.
like all kids do.
Yes.
But when you're the smallest guy and you're never dealing with just one person, it's usually a group that's already formed by the time you get there. You sit back and you think and you go, maybe there's a better way. Maybe the better way is to embrace them and figure out a way to become friendly. And if you're, you know, I guess.
So how did you? Okay, so I'm a bully. I'm sitting here. I'm bullying you. How did you embrace me? How do you do that?
Well, I found one thing that.
How do you do that?
That in order to fight, the two of us have to come together.
Yes, there's got to be some force there, a little, right?
But if you're coming at me and I keep backing up and saying, you know, there's a better way, it doesn't always work. But if you continue to do it, eventually it works.
Yeah.
And if you have a dynamic personality, eventually they start to like you, especially if you can be the idea guy.
Yeah.
And you can figure out better ways for them to get in trouble than they're doing right now.
Yeah.
You know.
You know, my dad said something to me when I was young and I was being bullied. Actually, he was, you know, his philosophy was, you know, it takes one person to start a fight, but it takes two people to have a fight.
That's
And,
right.
and you know, and he was so right about that. But, you know, at that time I was being bullied and I didn't see the wisdom in that. But now I see it. You know, we talk about force and flow. And, you know, I used to be a big fighter, man. I used to fight in the ring. I used to fight outside the ring. I used to fight in the streets. I mean, I just was that guy. And I realized that once I changed my mind about that, I changed my energy about that, my life changed. And I quit having those opportunities come to me to where I was able to fight. Other opportunities started coming towards me. And I'm sure
Right.
as you
Right.
kind of evolved as a man, you realize that, you know what, I'm kind of putting this energy out and maybe I need to change it, like you said.
So do you think that that was kind of the first time in your life that you had to build this mental strength, if you will, that carried on to the rest of your life?
Well, what I came to realize at an early age is that I had leadership qualities.
Yes.
And
yes.
that the strength wasn't always here,
Yes.
but here.
Right,
And
Richard.
if you can get to the spirit of the person,
Yeah.
and you know that eye contact,
Yeah.
and where that respect is built just based on who we are and what we are,
Right.
as opposed to who can fight better and who can do this or that.
Right.
Then you can get them to listen, and then if your ideas are better, then you can lead. And if you lead, then you build the respect. And once a few people start to respect you, then the word gets out. A lot of people start to respect you.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you get along with everybody,
Yeah.
but I always try.
There's two things I want to focus on the conversation today that I think is poignant to our listeners and to our viewers. Is one thing, Richard used to be a police officer, so I want to talk about that and the Black Lives Matter and that issue when you were a cop, you know, the things that you've seen, the things you experienced, and the fact that you were on SWAT you know, you were that guy that went into these horrible situations to try to control and diffuse and bring, you know, justice to those situations. What was that perspective? And I also want to talk about, you know, one of the greatest victories that you have in your life and the largest trophy that I've seen that you've talked about, the fact that you overcame a cancer that normally takes out 90 to 99% of humans, that you are still here with us today.
In 5 years.
In 5 years. It usually takes people out in 5 years, and you've been around for how long now, bro?
It's going on 28.
28 years, man. So we want to talk about those things. Those things are super, super important.
Well, and there's another one that I think is, you know, equally impressive and amazing.
Are you going to talk about the degree?
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Yes. Getting
we
a
talked about that the
degree.
other day. We were like, how many people are in Richard's age demographic reaching for degrees and trying to do, you know, doing business, still trying to impact and change the world and still living at a very high level.
Yes.
I mean, that to me is amazing. That's what I was saying. You know, I want to be you. I want to be you when I grow up, man. I want to be that man who is still looking forward to living and waking up every day and saying, what can I do to make my life better, and what can I do to make everyone else's life better around me? I want to be that person.
So if you don't mind sharing for everyone, how old are you, Richard?
As of August, I was 75.
75. Richard's been on this planet for 75 years, and
Yes.
it's been glorious. I don't, you know, as I'm getting a little bit, since I'm trying to find a new word, Richard, or maybe you can help me. I don't like that word old. I don't like the connotation that goes along with it. I don't want to accept that for my life. I think I'm getting better as I'm on this planet longer. I feel like I'm getting better. I don't feel like I'm getting older, if you will.
So maybe we ask, you know, how long have you been on Earth? Or,
Yeah,
probably a better
Well,
question.
Yeah.
How long have you been on
Earth.
Earth? That's a better question.
It's not asking age.
No, it's not. It's
you
just,
know.
I think that old is a concept,
yeah.
and
Do you? Obviously, you
it's-
don't embrace that concept.
No, and it's a niche that people create, that then they fit themselves in, or you allow the people that are, around you to put you in that little box.
Yes.
And if you don't, if you stay in life, I believe that life is like water, like a river. Life is constantly flowing.
I love it.
Yep.
Yes.
And the only way that you can flow with it is to jump into the river.
Yes.
And what happens to people as they get older is they start moving from the deep water to the shallow
water to the bank.
To the bank.
Then they sit on the bank and watch the whole river go by.
That's
you know,
right.
just
And
judge
then-
the river and everything
and
else.
then they say,
I'm gonna die.
and then they say, why is life passing me
Yeah,
by?
well,
Wait,
'cause you're sitting on the bank.
You took yourself out of it.
Yeah, you know, and you know what, Richard, you know, that is a big thing, man, what you're saying there, because, you know, I happen to deal with a lot of folks that are in our age demographic or older, and they've just kind of given up on life, man. I'm like, don't sit on the corner waiting for the death bus to come, okay? It's coming, but don't sit on the corner and wait. Let it try to catch you somewhere. Do something with your life.
Well, I think as people get older,
Yeah.
you know, they talk about the old guy that tells all the stories.
No?
In daily life, there's enough to converse about and to move forward on without sitting around and saying, gee whiz, you know when, and this is what I did. And you can see that all the time. You get older people in an older generation, and they group together as friends for strength.
Yeah.
And all they do is talk about what they did in the past.
Or they
Well,
sit there and
if
talk about their diseases and dysfunctions.
Well, if you think about it, if you're not
Yeah.
doing any new things, if you're not learning any new
You
things,
have
if
nothing
you're
new to
not
talk
taking new
about. There
actions,
you go.
Exactly.
Right.
All you have to
Right.
talk
And we're
about
all
is the
tribal. I
past.
mean, we all gather in clusters, and we gather in groups that kind of think the same way we think, and, you know, believe the same way we believe. And that's why you got to be careful. We talked about collective consciousness.
Yes.
You got to be careful about the people you hang around, because if you hang around them long enough, you're going to become one of them. So, you know, and I know your circle is very tight,
Well,
isn't it?
yeah, but tight but expansive. I mean, I don't put limitations on my circle. I mean, I get along with people in my genre.
Yeah.
I mean, I can talk the
So I'm going to ask you a question.
what I used to do thing with them and make them feel comfortable. But the people that I feel most comfortable with are probably, 30s, 40s, 50s. After they get into their 60s, You know, I'll spend time with them. But
you think too old. You are too old. I need to be around the young people. You know, and again, you're staying around that younger energy, which is keeping you younger in your thinking and the way you do things. So, guys, I want us to hold on to this thought. We're going to take a break real quick, but when we come back, we are going to be talking about cancer. We're also going to talk about the D10. When Richard tells you what he did with the D10, you're going to be amazed. And we're going to talk a little bit more about life. So if you guys would please stay with us at the Tony Talk Show. We'll be back here in Midtown, Houston, Texas, on The Edge.
Our whole lives to support our families. With one accident or illness, it can all be gone in an instant. Now there's a smart, affordable way to protect your family. Go to findhealthbenefits.com and discover low-cost life insurance for as little as $2 per month. Add to that a tax-deferred annuity that can help you protect your assets and grow your money for retirement. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com. or call 877-235-6094. A critical illness can strike without warning and wipe out your life savings. In fact, it's the #1 reason for bankruptcy. Find Health Benefits offers an affordable solution. Get up to $50,000 if you get cancer, stroke, or a heart attack, giving you the peace of mind to focus on getting better while the plan helps you to pay your bills and medical expenses. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094. 66% of seniors spend more time shopping for cable TV than Medicare plans. Most say because it's just too confusing. Laws change every year. The wrong plan could cost you thousands and prevent you from seeing the doctors you want. Introducing findhealthbenefits.com. Save time, save money, see specialists without referrals. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094 for this informative brochure.
Society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio, because truth still matters.
Welcome back to the Tony Talk Show, and here we are with my co-host and my beautiful wife Cheyenne Shelby Elvin Cudjoe.
You're using the full name. Am I in trouble?
The whole name, and my best friend, my good friend Richard Flom. So we're glad you guys are back and staying with us. We're going to keep this moving. I want to focus on the cancer conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, that's huge. Because I know there's some people out there that may have been diagnosed with cancer. There's some people that a lot of people are afraid of it.
Well, I think also, expanding it outside of cancer, any health crisis really applies. But it's your story is so moving because you were diagnosed with a very extreme form of cancer, one that doesn't have a very long lifespan after diagnosis. Not only did you overcome that, but you have survived and thrived. And I think that's a big conversation, is that it's not just having a mindset of survival, but also, changing that and expanding that to having one of thriving, not just living, but how do I live to the best
fullest?
of my ability?
How do I optimize my life after this diagnosis? How do I become the person that I want to become and still achieve the things I want to achieve, even after they've told me.
So when
this.
you first got diagnosed, did you experience what I would imagine most people go through is, the fear, the anger,
what were the emotional? What were the
sure.
emotional energies that were going on with you?
But let me give you a little background. From my childhood, I moved on, and because I wanted to attain things for my personal benefit, not necessarily for the world, I started running. I became involved in sports that were. I became extremely proficient at free diving, spearfishing.
And all this was pre-diagnosis of the cancer, right?
Pre-diagnosis of cancer.
Yeah.
Pre-diagnosis of cancer. I ran, and when I was running like a mile a day. Then I built it to 6 miles a day. Then I said, gee whiz, why can't I run a marathon? So I ran my first marathon at 36 years old.
Come on, man.
In Chicago.
Yes.
And then I ran my second marathon at 40 years old in Detroit, and did that one pretty good. I did it in 3 hours and 15 minutes at 40.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
So what I had was some discipline built into me, and
right.
I had played around in
from
gym.
Sports.
Yeah,
those disciplines that come from there.
I played around the gym with weights because I originally started with things like bench presses and squats because not knowing a whole lot, I thought that would expand my chest and enable me to take in more air so I could, when I freed that, with spearfishing, I could hold my breath longer.
Sure,
that kind
absolutely.
of thing. So I had that going in. Plus I had 11 years on the police department, and I was not only in charge of a SWAT unit, but I was also the training officer for the entire SWAT division on the Miami Police Department. So I got to bring.
Wasn't you like one of the first folks in SWAT and grew that whole SWAT concept, if you will?
I was on the first group.
See? Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah. We were trained by the FBI, and I had to rappel out of helicopters, and that's where you learn to overcome fear. When we had learned how to rappel on a building, but you've got something solid. Now you're up in an aircraft that you question when you got into it whether this thing would even stay in the air. Right. And then they tell you.
Did you have any fear of heights before you did that?
Yeah. And then they tell you. Get out of this thing and leave it,
It's perfect. It's fine. Why would I want to do that?
And they hover you 200 feet in the air, and they say, okay, you're going to rappel to the ground. And you go, really? I'm going to get out of here? I remember the first time I did it, I actually said, okay, they had a command on the skid, which meant get out.
Right.
They also told you a little fairy tale that said that if the two of you didn't jump at the same time, you'd tilt the helicopter and one of you might get shot. But these were big Hueys. This didn't happen. But at that moment...
They had you fearful and they controlled you, so you both jumped, right?
So when they said on the skid, I said, okay, I'm getting on the skid. And I looked down, I hadn't moved. I had to take my leg and actually place it on the skid the first time. But then when I rappelled, I came, you jump out and you have you can brake and, you're working the rope.
Sure, there's a process.
And about halfway down the 250 feet, I threw the rope out a little bit and it got some free fall. And I was the supervisor. So when I hit the ground, I said, Mikey loves that. So I'm first in line again.
Let's do it again. Let's do it again. So you were kind of preconditioned
that kind of
to face your fears, so to speak, and walk right into them.
But yet when I was diagnosed with cancer, I was actually 48 years old. I was trying to get ready for a third marathon.
Wow.
And I had noticed that I had some shortness of breath. And one of the guys that I was running with was an ER doc. And he said, I need you to go in and get an EKG. I'm worried about you. I said, there's nothing wrong with my heart, And he said, well, you either do it with your doctor or I'm going to take you into Detroit receiving and you're not going to like that. So I went to the doc.
You to comply.
The EKG was perfect.
Right.
She was actually a friend of mine. She said, as she did the physical exam, she said, your abdominal muscles are really tense and guarded. She said, I would like to take an x-ray. Just patronize me and let me do this. And I said, what do you think's going on? She said, I got my own ideas, but let me look. They took the x-ray and she came out and she had tears running down her face because we were good friends. And she said, you've got cancer. Your spleen, your spleen is enlarged. She said, if I had to guess, this 3-ounce organ is now in pounds, like 5 or 6 pounds.
Wow.
And that's what's causing your abdominals to be guarded.
Right.
She put it. So that was like, wow. And
Your life changed in an instant, didn't it, at that
yeah,
moment?
and she was an osteopath, so she sent me to an osteopathic hospital, and they messed up the first test, and I went, I can't do this. So that's the part of me that I think has gotten me through everything, and that is I take charge of it. I don't just take people's word for it, and I don't just say because you're an expert, I absolutely believe what you have to say. I like second, third opinions. And so what I did is got with a buddy. He got me into the University of Michigan, which was the top thing at that time. Had an interesting experience there because they ran all the tests on me, and the doctor I had was from Germany, had a German accent.
Right.
And he called me at like 7 o'clock on a Friday while I was sitting in my office. I was in charge of industrial real estate for Colliers International at the time in Detroit. And I was working late, and it was about a 7 o'clock call. And he said, you've got stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, a rare variety called mantle cell. You're in stage 4, and I need you to start chemotherapy on Tuesday. And I said, okay, what are my options? And he said, you don't have any options. Now here I'm a Jewish guy talking to this guy with the German accent.
Oh well.
Telling me he's gonna put chemicals in my body, and I have no options.
That's like you said, hey Tony, we're going for a ride, and you're on a boat, and I'm a black man, it's slavery, the whole nine. No, we're getting on the boat going for a ride.
So anyway, I got aggressive about it. While I was testing, I had met the assistant for the head of the lymphoma department. He had just come up with a new treatment for cancer.
Wow.
He was working with the New England Journal of Medicine and
really
busy and tied up, wasn't taking new patients.
Right.
And I said, give me 5 minutes with him. Actually, what I told the German doctor, I said, I have to have options. I said, I have attorneys and I have accountants that give me options on law and taxes, but I make the business decision. I said, you got to give me the options. And when you're telling me there's no options, I'm going to fire you. And he goes,
there you go.
And he goes, well, you can't fire me because I'm a doctor. And I said,
wrong.
Yeah, but you can't touch me. So where does that leave you? So then I jumped in my car the next day, went to the University of Michigan, got with the assistant, to the head of the department, asked if I could get 5 minutes with him. I got 5 minutes, convinced him to take my case on, and he came up with a real Frankensteinian treatment because they had really nothing to treat mantle cell at the time. It was rare. There's only 3,500 cases a year. So,
wow.
It's that kind of thing. So the treatment was interesting, but having digressed with all this background, bringing you to instantaneously, I remember when I went home after being told that I had cancer, that I had the C word, the death sentence.
Right. And a lot of folks think that.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of folks think that when that C
Absolutely.
word comes up, I'm done.
I didn't take it well.
Right.
And then I made the choices. I said, how much money do I have in the bank? And how much fun can I have in Las Vegas?
Before I leave this place. Right. Right.
And
so how long was it that you had, you know, the normal kind of fear reaction to the, okay, no, I'm making a different decision.
Well,
on
I
this.
had
Yeah.
I had a fear reaction, and the reaction was, why me? Why not somebody else, or you know, that seagull over there?
Sure.
Don't
Anything but me.
But
Well,
me.
well, yeah, I'm a good guy. What's the deal here?
And there's a very interesting effect that I found in having talked to a number of cancer patients afterwards, and that is this line forms in the ground.
Yeah.
And all the normal people are on that side of the line, and you're over here. And you're not normal because you've got to go through all of this treatment in order to live,
Right.
and none of it is pleasant. Or you can just go away. And that's a scary thought, because there's millions of people over here, and you're stepping into an area where you're just really pretty much alone with your doctors and, you know, your immediate family. And your immediate family completely falls apart.
Sure.
Because, you know, they
The
don't know
emotional
how to
trauma,
deal
they
with
don't know how to
that.
deal with it.
And so you've got to either take charge of it or throw yourself at the mercy of your doctors. No decision. So I went through the Las Vegas thing. Then I made one really big mistake. I called the IRS up and told them I was dying and I wasn't going to pay taxes anymore.
Did you do that for real?
Yeah, I did.
What was their response?
And then after she really felt sorry for me. And she said, "You really have to think about this, Mr. Flom. You can't." I said, "No, I'm done.
Yeah.
I got to have something good come out of this."
That's right.
And then I lived, and I went, "Oh my God!"
Yeah.
I got to. So, you know, once I got through that, then I came to a concept that I've had all my life, and that is sort of a sports mentality.
Yeah.
This is what I have to overcome. This is the enemy,
Yeah.
and this is me. And how do I fight this?
Right.
And it gets a little bit clouded because what you're fighting is actually inside your body.
Right.
As I went through cancer over the years, I became really good friends with cancer.
Was the big fight for you on a physical level, on a mental level?
Oh, mental
or
and
spiritual level. What was the big correction for you at that moment?
Spiritual was the first.
Yes.
Because you have to have an understanding of yourself to overcome something.
Yes.
You have to have faith in you.
Yes.
I believe in the higher power.
Yes.
But I also believe, although some people don't believe, some people believe that the higher power is everywhere all the time, doing it.
Sure.
I'm saying, okay, there's 7 billion people on the face of the earth. That's a lot of spreading out, and who knows, there may be other stuff out there that he's taking care of. But I think the gift that you're given is that you have the strength within you.
Yes.
You just have to find it.
Yes. I love that.
Well, and last week Rachel mentioned that as well. That
Yes.
everyone has that light inside of them.
Yes.
It's just a matter of identifying it and becoming aware
We all do.
of it.
We all have that light. We all have that power. We all have that choice, and we all have that creative control. And Richard is a living example of that. I mean, you just made some mental decisions about your life and what you were going to do with it from that point forward.
Right, and then you have to set goals.
Yeah.
You say, okay, here's my life. Here. You have to key in on what you really like about life.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, I want to get back to that. Now, luckily, I was in really good physical condition when I was diagnosed.
That's yeah.
Yes.
Once again, that proves,
Yes.
guys, you know what? I'm going to always come back to this because once again, you need to really understand who you are. I believe, and you can tell me if I'm wrong or right, Richard, it was because of all the things that happened to you before the diagnosis happened to you. The fact that you had athleticism in your life, the fact that your body was physically strong, the fact that you were mindful of your physical body and taking care of it and exercising, and you were this person who was already reaching for life, so to speak, in business and in your personal life, and you just took these things and you used them as tools to overcome the cancer.
Right. In fact, they wanted to put ports in me,
Yeah.
and PICC lines.
Yes.
And I said, my life is too active to have something hanging out of my arm. I said, put the stuff in my veins. They said we could, we're using drugs like adriamycin, which could destroy your
veins, right?
And I said, you know what? I don't want anybody looking at me and saying there's a cancer patient.
Yeah.
When I started losing my hair for chemotherapy,
Yeah.
I was actually, we had flown down to West Palm Beach. I never stopped doing business. I never stopped doing anything.
You never stopped living. I like it. Right.
And I was taking a really strong chemotherapy.
Yes.
So the hair started falling out. I was in a 2-bedroom suite with my partner. I was in real estate development at the time. And he was a lot younger than me and impressionable. And I woke up that morning, and this little bit of hair that I had, I didn't have a lot of hair. I just loved the hair. I spent a lot of money.
What you had, you loved, and you want to keep it.
Going to the barber and trimmages this way and that. And I looked down on the pillow, and there was like a bunch of hair.
Wow.
So I went to the bathroom, and I went like this, and it pulled out. And I said, wow, how about that? So then I went over and beat on the door, and my partner came out, and he was half asleep, and he said, hell's the matter with you? And I reached up with both hands and grabbed my hair and pulled it out. And I said, you're driving me crazy.
Yeah, that's why I love you.
So I said, we're big shot business people at the time. We had flown into West Palm. We were meeting with clients, and we had to drive over to Naples, Florida, which is across the state.
Right.
And I said, you know what we're doing? We're ditching the Lincoln. We're getting a Mustang convertible. And I got to find a barber shop and have somebody shave my head, because I'm not having all this little sprigs of stuff looking like I'm sick hanging out.
There you go.
I said I'll get a 15 block at Walgreens, and by the time I get over to Naples, I'm going to look like Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
Man.
there you go. And look, you look wonderful. I love that look.
So
guys, again, Richard talking about how he has created his life and not allowed other people to create it for him. And we want to continue with that discussion. So we're going to take a break. And if you guys would, stick with us here, because we're learning some things about human optimization. We're also learning about how powerful you are as a creator and how powerful your choices are, your choices and decisions for your life. So if you guys would, stay with us here at the Tony Talk Show. We're going to come back. We're going to talk more with Richard, and we're going to learn a little bit more about how to optimize our lives through choices and decisions that we make on a daily basis. Tony Talk, stay with us.
The Natural Nation Network is really about taking control of your health physically, spiritually, emotionally, even intellectually, because there's so much out there in misinformation. There's a lot of people now that are suffering from all sorts of diseases that they really wouldn't have to suffer for if they had better information. And that's what we're here to do. Provide information that can save lives.
The mind and the body are totally connected.
Health can be really serious, and sometimes we just have to lighten it up a little bit while we're still providing substantive information.
And my sort of mantra on the salsa dance floor is kind of similar. I tell somebody, if you make a mistake twice, it becomes a move. Okay,
Tune into Natural Nation every Tuesday at 11 a.m.
Hello, welcome back to the Tony Talk Show here at 10 a.m. Thursday morning.
Well, it's not 10 anymore. It's close to 11.
A little after 10.
Yeah.
A little after 10.
Yes.
We are so excited today because we are here with Richard Flum. We have been talking about cancer, and so, of course, overcoming the initial diagnosis, overcoming basically being mentally strong and allowing that to get you through. What we do want to talk about now is you overcome it, it was in remission, but then it actually came back in your life.
Correct. And here's something you've got to deal with as a cancer patient. That it took me until I went into relapse to understand that. Most cancer patients think that they go through the treatment and they're done with it.
Right.
And a lot of them drop out of life because they feel they've made the biggest accomplishment in living.
Wow. Yeah.
And so as far as expanding their life at that point or continuing doing things that are good for them,
Right.
they just want to sit back now and enjoy what life they've now earned. The problem with cancer is it doesn't always think that way. It can come back. And I remember it was 8 years, which was crazy because normally right after you have treatment with mantle cell, you're usually in stage 4 when you're diagnosed. So you've had it for a few years. It changes perspective. It becomes very aggressive and it kills most of the patients. I was the oddball. I went for 8 years and it stayed what they call indolent or slow growing.
Right.
And then it came back and it was either take chemotherapy or have my spleen taken out because it was really large.
Wow.
Well, they took my spleen out and I went into remission for another 8 years. And then it came back.
3 times. So you've had, it came back twice.
It came back again.
Wow.
And I was treated again, and I went in full and complete remission. And then 6 months, that was in like 2010, I went through some bouts of stuff where I was passing out. It was where the cancer was located, where the lymph nodes had enlarged. They were pressing on a nerve,
Right.
the vagus nerve, which
Right, the vagus
caused you
nerve.
to pass out.
Absolutely.
So, I could be driving a car and
Wow.
that kind of thing. So then I went in. They gave me treatment, and 6 months, and I was great. And I went back to playing tennis, and I was doing my thing, and I
Right.
was taking my chemo. Chemo never really bothered me, and then it turned what they call blastoid, and that's what should have happened in the begining, and that was in 2011.
So what does blastoid mean? I mean,
That means it's extremely aggressive.
Okay.
And, we'll just fast forward. So I called my doc at University of Michigan. He said, I got nothing, but I got a buddy at MD Anderson. And, but he was used to it being slow growing. So from the time that it turned blastoid in like November, it wasn't until April of 2012 that I actually got in to see the doctor at MD Anderson because he wanted me to see a specific doctor.
Right.
Well, by that time, neuropathy had started to set in, and when they took me into the hospital, what happened was they ran a bunch of tests, and then they had one test they couldn't give me, and they said, come back. I flew back. I was living in Hilton Head, South Carolina at the time. I went to a yoga class, and it was the first time that the impact of it was I was down on the mat, and I went to get up, and my legs, I couldn't get up off the mat. And I've always been a physical person. I've depended upon it.
Yes, absolutely.
And I remember having tears running down my face. I was there with my brother, and I went, I need help to get up.
I can imagine that, Richard, being at the level you were at that level of athleticism. I mean, a deep sea diver, you were an athlete, you were working out, taking care of your body, and not be able to move your body on your own, under your own power. I can't imagine the mental anguish that you went through because of that.
So the doctor called over the weekend, called me on my cell phone. I wasn't supposed to come back until Thursday to take this last test, and he said, I need you to get back here right now. I said, well, I'm not due until Thursday. He said, I've seen enough.
Wow, right.
I need you back now. So we went to the airport. We made a quick booking to get out of there and get back to MD Anderson. And I remember my brother had gone off because there was some delay with the flight, and he was checking on it. And I had leaned over because I had my cell phone plugged in. I fell down. I couldn't get up off the floor. And a lady and a man had to help me up. And I was like beside myself.
Yeah.
By the time I got to the hospital, I had 103-degree fever. I had pneumonia. I had 2 pulmonary embolisms, and 90% of my lymph system was compromised.
Wow, man.
And the doctor came in that morning, and he said, here's the problem I got. Normally we would treat the blood clots and pneumonia, get you healthy, give you chemotherapy.
Right.
He said, but I could flip a coin right now, and I can't tell which one's going to kill you first, and it's going to do it quickly. Either the pneumonia is going to get you the blood clots, or the cancer will kill you, where it's moving so rapidly. He said, if I treat both of them, I could kill you. And I said, have at it.
Wow. Yeah.
So I came out of the hospital 2.5 weeks later. I weighed 130 pounds. I was in a wheelchair, and they told me I would never walk again.
How did you feel when you got that diagnosis? Because I know you had told me stories about when you were in there, you were doing push-ups and walking around, and they were trying to get you to stay laid down in the bed and the whole 9 yards, man.
Quite frankly, with my background, I got pissed off. I said, you say that, I don't
agree. That's your opinion.
Well,
I like that.
2 weeks later, I was out of the wheelchair in a walker.
Yeah.
3 weeks after that, I handed the walker to my son.
Yes.
I was going down to the little gym I had in my apartment building and having him help me on the recumbent bike. And by the 4th week, I had built up from 5 minutes to a half hour.
Richard, what was driving you to do that? What was driving you, man, to get up and say, I'm not going out like this?
I had my younger son picking me up in the middle of the night out of the bed to carry me to the bathroom. And I said, I am not going to live like that, but I'm not ready to die.
Wow.
So I'm going to either overcome this or not. And I remember I had the conversation with cancer at that time. I had a direct conversation. I said, look, you and I, at the time, it had been almost 19 years. I said, you and I have been living simpatico for 19 years. And I said, I never thought you were a dumbass. I said, but obviously you are, because if you kill me, I'm your host. You can't jump to somebody else. You're going to die too.
There you go. Yeah.
So think about that.
Yeah. And you said you had that direct conversation as you're talking to me.
Like you. And I said, but I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn these doctors loose and let them give me everything they can, and I'm going to kill you before I die.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was my mental feeling about it.
Yes.
And that's what drove me to go on, because my lust for life was
stronger than you.
I wasn't going to do that, and I wasn't going to burden my family that way.
Right.
So
was that was that the last straw for you? The fact that your son had to help you to the restroom, and you were just like, "Hey, man, not doing this."
I mean, 4 times in the night.
Yeah.
I mean, I had neuropathy in my hands. I could only press the speed dial to call him to come in from the other room and help me.
Richard.
So it was a kind of thing. And then, I mean, there was a lot of stuff. I crawled out of the bed when I wasn't supposed to, and I was doing push-ups, and the person that was taking care of me came in and said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm doing push-ups. I mean, I was doing them off my thighs.
Sure, but still.
But then that's how I wound up at the Met. Then 4 weeks later, after I was on the bike, I was sort of walking pretty good. I said, let me find a tennis. I couldn't be in the sun because of the treatment I was getting.
Right.
So I went, I found the Met because indoor tennis courts. Paid the pro for an hour. We'd hit for 5 minutes, sit for 15, until I built up to do
your endurance,
whatever.
And now right now you're in the gym. How many days a week now?
6.
How long do you work out?
About 2 hours.
About 2 hours. And I know you don't want me to say this, but I'm saying it anyway. How much are you bench pressing right now, bro?
About 205.
205. How much you deadlifting?
360.
360. You guys, you hear that? 205 and 360 at the age of what? 70 what?
75.
See? And we've worked out together in the gym, and it's been great, right? Guys, Richard is super, super, super strong. And this is a man who doesn't give up. This is a man who doesn't make excuses for his life. This is a man who truly understands that he is the power of his life. And he's making conscious decisions to continue to live. He's making conscious decisions what's best for him and what he's trying to create for his life. And I think that's wonderful. That's human optimization in movement. It really is.
I hope that everyone is gathering the fact that every person that we've brought on has had a challenge in life.
Yeah.
And
common denominators.
Exactly. And they have overcome that challenge through their mental strength, through their spiritual strength, and their physical strength. So, Richard, what advice would you have for someone who is dealing with cancer, or someone who's not dealing with cancer, just someone that's young?
Yeah, especially right now in this moment we're in our country right now.
I think where you have to, let me cap off the cancer. So, after I got to walk and play tennis, I
like that. Let me cap off the cancer.
I
like that.
When I had this, so I went in order for me to get, the only way that I was going to live is to have a stem cell transplant, which meant that I had to find a donor and all that. Yeah. Luckily, my brother matched, my only sibling, which was like winning the lottery. Yeah. And
well, that's the universe, Richard. You know who I am, brother. That's the universe lining up and giving you what you desire.
But you have to go get it.
Yeah.
It's there.
But you got to make a decision.
Right. So I took 3 clinical trials.
Yeah.
2 of them failed. The last one put me in full and complete remission. In January of 2013, I had an allogenic stem cell transplant, which I later found out 20% of the people die in the first year. They didn't tell me that in the beginning.
Wow, really? I didn't know that.
So I had that, and here I am. Now what I am, and the advice that I can give you is this: while you're infirm, while you're going through maybe not cancer, maybe a divorce or something that really takes you down, think of how you felt and how you wished you were back to the day before whatever happened.
Right.
And my way of doing it was always trying to get back there and then go beyond. Get back to the day before and then continue on. When I'm in the gym working out and I'm trying to get that last rep and I don't want to do it, I think about when I couldn't use my arms and legs and say, Flom, you're an ass. Skip the last rep. I mean, God has given you an opportunity to do this.
Come on, man. Yeah.
Yeah. And
well, it's kind of like you know, the life you've lived. You there are no excuses for you. I mean, there are no choices of those excuses. You've overcome some of the most challenging things that most people would take most people out, and here you are standing. Here you are thriving. Here you are still living your life at a very high level.
Well, like last August. Not this past, the year before.
Yeah.
I've always been in real estate. Well, Texas is a really tough place. You have to have all these hours and you got to do all this stuff. And the only way that I could really get through it is to go back and get a degree. So I wanted to continue my business. So I went back to Texas A&M, went for a degree, got in it, did the usual Flom, overachiever. So I couldn't just get the
usual Flom. No, you had to be at top of the class, brother.
I graduated magna cum laude.
Come on now.
Yeah, and I got my degree, picked up the extra 270 hours I needed.
Come on,
I had the experience, got my real estate broker's license, and just licensed my new company. So
there we go.
There you go.
Human optimization in movement, guys. It's in movement here. Making decisions for your life, believing in your life, and creating the things that work for your life. Those are the things that we want to make sure that we're kind of conveying to our audience, that you do have the power.
Yes.
You do have the power of choice. And we just exercised that November 3rd,
yes.
Where you voted for who you thought was going to be best to run your city, your town, your country. And you made that decision, which was wonderful. Now, what we want you to understand is expand on that. Expand, understand. At the end of the day, Richard, I tell people it's really good to live your life in reverse. I am sure there are things that you want to achieve before you leave this physical body in your daily activities and the things that you do daily when you get up and get dressed. is focused on meeting that goal. So you have an end game. You really have an end game. What you want to leave, the legacy you want to leave, what you want to accomplish before you leave this planet. And I am sure that the things that come into your life, you're saying, hey, this lines up with what I want to do, or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, you don't give it a lot of energy. You just move off and keep going, right?
But I think that's key is you mentioned this before, Richard, is you identified a goal. It's very important to have those goals. And I think as we are aging, setting those goals diminish.
Yeah. Well, I agree.
Only if you allow them.
If you allow them, and I think a lot of folks get jaded. They get jaded over the course of their lives, and and then they just start to believe they can't more than they can. They start to believe that my life is over versus every day I wake up, I have a new opportunity.
I've got it simple. Can't means I don't want to.
Oh, I love it, and that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
We all have the choice. When I started running,
yes,
I made the choice. I went out and bought some kids, and I went out on the street and ran. It didn't cost me anything, I mean, the kids were cheap,
right?
I don't even think I bought them. I think I had them in the closet. I just put them to use.
Yeah.
There are so many things you can do with your life. You just step out the door and do it.
And just do it. Yeah, just do it. And that's what I love about Nike when they came out with that. Just do it, because that's the truth. Whatever you decide that you want to do, I want you guys to understand you were created with the power, the ability, and the resources to make that happen. We talk to people all the time. I guarantee you, whatever you want to accomplish for your life in this moment, the right people are around you already. You're just not leveraging those relationships, and you're not looking at them the proper way.
Go ahead.
And 90% of it doesn't cost you anything. It's all effort.
Yeah.
I think the important thing to notice as well, again, I'm going to bring this up, is that, having that power within us and having the ability to create the life that we want doesn't mean it's going to be all roses and it's going to be all rainbows.
The thing
all the time.
we're learning
Challenges
about
are going to be part of it.
Absolutely, it's part of it. That's contrast.
Yeah.
That's the contrast of life. You're going to see things you want. You're going to see things you don't want. That's what makes you desire and make you kind of put your request out there to the universe. So that's part of it. So when you understand that there's diversity in life, right? Diversity, we talked about embracing that and seeing the beauty of that. Then you can start moving through that diversity the right way and get to the goals that you're truly trying to accomplish. Guys, listen, we want to thank you so much for listening to the Tony Talk Show. Hopefully we're inspiring, educating, and motivating you to a higher level of living, and also inspiring you to believe in yourself to achieve the things you truly desire. We want to thank you so much, Richard Flom, for coming here today and sharing your story. And we definitely want you to come back more because there's a lot more to talk about. And you are very inspiring and you're very motivating. And again, guys, Richard lives his life with no excuses.
No.
Every time I'm talking to you, you're doing something new in business. We're talking about business things we're trying to accomplish together. You're always moving. You're always doing something. When I call you, you're either doing business or you're at the gym working out or you're just enjoying life, and it's a wonderful thing. So, guys, once again, thank you so much for being here at the Tony Talk Show. We'll see you next Thursday at 10 a.m. On the Edge Radio, where the truth matters. Tony Talks.